Testing, testing. All right, we are live. But there are people who like to go out a lot. Like they're the friends that we were going to the bar pretty soon. They like going to DC and stuff. They like going to bars and spending money on designer clothes and shit. They didn't want to be house poor.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person I'd rather be house poor if I had to. But I'm still gonna buy under budget.
Yo, Apple's starting to look strong as shit into the close.
Yeah, nice little bounce on SPY here, right off VWAP too.
And Tesla looked like a good, above triple six, the balance.
It's since my girlfriend's been out of town, dude, I haven't went out to eat one time yet.
Nice. You've been cooking or ordering?
Yeah, that or going over to my parents' house and them making dinner.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna fucking be rich within the next 7 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, when you stop going out a lot and you start seeing your money just pile up in your bank account, you realize how much money you actually spend on going out.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like a noticeable difference too.
Yep. Now, when COVID first started, you guys remember I used to go out to eat fucking 5 times a day. Fucking everything was going out to eat, going out to eat. And my bank account was definitely feeling a difference when I stopped doing that. Because you think to yourself, it's like, it's only $20. It's only $30. It's only $60. Like, you going to a nice dinner. But that shit adds up. It's like fucking...
Like, I was like, looking, it's like every time that I order dinner, like if it's both of us, dude, I'm spending like between 50 to $70, man.
Yeah.
Like, not on fast food, but like,
a
like,
normal dinner place, yeah.
Not a nice restaurant either. Just like...
Yeah.
Like, even fucking Chinese food, dude. I ordered Chinese food last week, and it was fucking, like 60-something bucks.
Yep. No, any of the middle class restaurants, like the fucking Outbacks and shit, you don't think they're that expensive, but they add up.
Getting fucking rugged over here.
Yes, sir. They fucking get you.
Rugs.
They tack on that 20% tip.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm not a cheap ass, so I actually like tip good.
Yep. 20% every time. Unless they piss me off, then I'll give them like 15. We were at Buffalo Wild Wings watching a UFC fight like last year, and it was packed. And our waitress literally came by like maybe twice. And we were there for like 4 hours. And at the end of it, I still gave her like 15%. My buddy didn't give her anything. He didn't give her a single dollar. And she didn't deserve a dollar. She honestly did not deserve a single cent. But I just can't do that. I can't give somebody less than like 10%.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah. But no, she didn't deserve anything. She literally, I'm telling you, we were there for like 4 hours. She came by maybe 2 or 3 times. What's going on, Poncho?
SPY, Apple, Tesla bouncing.
Yeah, SPY is about to break back into that 437 area. Those are those lottos that we took earlier. What are they going for now? 25 cents. I closed them at like 37 something. Yeah, so we're still doing all right.
It's Pluto that lives in Italy, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, see, this is like the real fucking homemade like meat right here.
What's verb, Poncho? I'm not sure I know what that is. Target looks pretty good. Target's just going straight up, man. How's Costco doing? Am I going to be sad when I look at this? I closed my Costco. Oh, no, it's doing all right. I've never had any of those like cured meats that you're showing, like on the meats that you put on the board. I've only had like like salami.
The one on the board is the one you could buy at a store. The one I just sent the picture of. That's my cousin made that. That's homemade.
Yeah, it looks good.
Pluto knows what that is for sure.
Oh my god, once again, sold early on Apple because this shit just fucking rips. Fuck.
Looks like Verb has completed its move already, Poncho. This would be like a massive cup, like a rounded bottom. So basically, you'd just be looking for a trace to the high, and you've already gotten that. That's why it's selling off.
Sounded like you said you'd be looking for a reach around.
Reopening, getting rugged. Jets so oversold. Yeah, I got out of all my travel stuff, man. I made a wrong call on that. What started screwing us was the Delta variant. They started pushing the Delta variant, like fear-mongering all over mainstream media. And then we had a couple of bad cruise news where the cruises that were doing fully vaccinated cruises, they were still getting infections. When that headline came out, I should have got out of all my travel. I'm actually still holding CCL, but I have not added to it. And I'm probably going to close it. Is it red today? Yeah, I'm probably going to let go of this. It's not looking too good.
How is that possible if everyone's vaccinated on the cruise and it's still fucking...
Because they can still get sick. That's what people don't realize. Like, everyone who's getting vaccinated, a lot of the people don't realize they can still get the virus. They're not, like, immune. It just, like, lowers your chance. It's mainly a hospitalization thing. If you have the vaccine and you get COVID, there's almost no chance it will hospitalize you. Like, the vaccine is very, very good in that regard. The vaccine is not extremely good at preventing you from getting COVID. It's just very good at making it so you don't get sick. So when those announcements started coming out that these vaccinated cruises were getting sick, that was like the end of travel. Travel topped out.
We getting a bounce here on Tesla.
Any stock that's heavily underwater right now? I'm not sure, Mike. That's not really the stocks that I look for. I'm more of a momentum guy. I like to play things that are doing well, typically uptrending. At most, they'll look like this. Let me find some examples. Like a firm. Like stuff that looks like this where it's kind of accumulating. I like stuff like that. Where was another one? That was a good example. Snow. We had a really good call out on Snow, which is actually pulling back to retest our trigger point. But these are the only bottoming stocks that I look for, things that are like clearly accumulating. I don't look for stocks that are just bleeding out. It's a good way to lose money. Does Myrna have any more room to run? Let's take a look.
That was my power alerts today.
Yeah, it was. Yep. Myrna just looks fantastic, man. It doesn't look like it has any sellers. Like, it just looks like it's going straight up. Last week we had a big hammer candle, and then this week we confirmed it with a massive breakout into all-time high. So until this trend line is broken, this kind of trend right here, it's just going to continue higher. You can see it's actually creating a fork. It's forking from the original trend and making a new trend. This is what Apple did. So like if we go down to Apple, look at Apple on the daily. This is ridiculous. Like, I cannot actually believe that Apple is continuing this trend. So this is what you would look for on Myrna. You would watch that trend and then look for forks off of that trend. This is how parabolic moves start. They start off as a regular trend, they go into a faster trend, and then they go into a faster trend, and it just rinse and repeat until it can't sustain it. Which, like, Apple is a good example, because I just cannot see how it sustains. It literally has to go straight up. The only way Apple sustains this new trend that it just put in is by going straight up. It can go sideways for one day, and then it has to go straight up afterwards. Our next target on Apple was 148. You already hit that. The next target is 150. You've basically already hit that as well. I think the target after that is 153. He said sentiment's so low, I can't believe it goes lower. The cruise story is why I had airline leaps, not cruises. Yeah. And one of the big things is what I was anticipating the European countries and the South American countries to be opening back up for like business travel and just normal tourism towards the end of this year and then towards the start of 2022. They haven't had any talks about doing that. They're actually closing again. A lot of those countries are going back into lockdown. So travel is dead. I'm really happy I closed most of my travel. I need to close CCL. I'm only in a few contracts, so it's not really bleeding me out too much. Yeah, travel is definitely not the sector you want. The sector that you want to be in right now is tech. The tech sector is booming. And if we look at the sectors here, we can see like XLK, the technology sector. Look at this thing. Ripping. And then I think, what was the other one? Pretty much everything was running, but there was another one I was looking at. I think it was XLY, consumer discretionary. This one is also doing very well. And then you had, where was the other one? XLV, the healthcare sector was doing very well, which is basically the vaccine companies. Nasty rejection on the initial range low on SPY. Initial range low was 437 to the dot, and we failed that pretty hard. The big sector holding the market down right now is financials, and we have a lot of financial earnings coming up. Yeah, I called out Coke in Discord earlier today. This thing is on fire. 2.5% day on Coke. That's huge. Coke does not move that big. It's a big day. It's like JMA called it out a few weeks ago. He was calling out Pepsi. Look at Pepsi, dude. That thing is on fire. Do you see that, JMA? He called that thing out, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Thing is ripping. 3.5% on the weekly candle on Pepsi. That's huge. Look at this breakout. You see all this resistance here? Resistance, resistance, resistance. Massive breakout on Pepsi here. I would definitely keep an eye on that. Then you had Johnson & Johnson, which was doing very well. And then it had that kind of bad news. And look at this. You can't even find the bad news on the chart. It already recovered. News has no effect on Johnson & Johnson. It goes down, then goes right back up. Nasty failure here on SPY. Back below VWAP now. But yeah, if we see these other earnings come out for financials and they actually start getting better, then the market is going to rip because it's the only sector holding us down right now.
Nice little pullback on Apple.
Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to go over here on stream. I can't really go over it too much because I don't know what the hell it means. But look at this, guys. Let me see if I can find it. Look at these SPX contracts that came in today. This is the largest order flow I have ever seen by far. Nothing even comes close. 1.4 billion, 2 billion, 2.3 billion, 3.3 billion with a B, billion. These all came in at the exact same time. They're taking them as a straddle, which is very, very weird because it's extremely far in the money. Extremely. $1,000 strike. It's currently at 4,300. This is basically ES. It's like trading the S&P 500. They bought 1,000 strike calls, 2,000 strike calls, 1,000 strike calls again, and then 2,000 strike calls again. So they're taking multiple straddles. You can see them all here. They also took puts as well, but they came in at much lower premium because they only bought them for 5 cents. You see here, they took 2,000 puts for this Friday and 1,000 puts for this Friday. I could not tell you what they're doing. This is highly unusual. Another thing that makes this very weird is SPX is cash settled, meaning there is no assignment, there is no exercising. So if you see stuff that's like super deep in the money, typically they're buying those contracts because they want to be exercised. They want to get those shares. You can't do that on SPX. They're cash settled. So what happens is when it closes, they just close the difference. So if you bought them for $100, they're at $200. You get the difference, right? It settles the difference.
European,
What was that?
European style.
Yeah. So this is very, very weird. I don't know what to make of this. It's also massive. It's almost $10 billion. So that's something to keep an eye on. Some of the other big flow that came in today that was pretty interesting was the SMH flow. This flow came in right on the lows when it came down to tap this like 258, the previous breakout point. You can see we bottomed here like 3 times. Right as it came down to tap that, the flow came in. So that's pretty good. I'd keep an eye on that. It's about 1.6 million. They bought the 275s for August 20th, which is not too far away. It's about a 20 delta, so it's kind of a lotto. The other ones that came in that were pretty big today was AMC. Had about 1 million premium on those. $75 calls for January 21st. And then we had space contracts come in, 3350s for July 23rd. Everything else was pretty standard. Nothing too unusual. You had some repeat call flow come in on Peloton. You had some come in on Baba. Those are some names to keep an eye on. Oh, 100%, Mike. They're in the billions, man. Those contracts are in the billions. 100%. It's institutions. There's no retail bros with that kind of money. That's even high for like smaller funds. Like that's a big institution. That's not a small institution. I made a joking tweet on Twitter that it was Nancy Pelosi insider trading, but that's even too big for her.
John McAfee.
Yeah, right, from the grave. Yeah, Dom, I think as long as the 10-year nukes, Qs is going to maintain strength. The 10-year yield is getting slapped. So as long as that happens, I think money is going to flow into Qs. IWM is mainly getting slapped because of the financials. What do I think about Tilray? It had a little bit of, it's either call flow or power alert today. Looks like dog shit, though. This is why you don't trade weed stocks, because they just literally bleed out into nothing. None of these weed companies are, like, well-established and have, like, steady uptrends like you would see on, like, Costco, Walmart, like, blue-chip companies. There's, like, not a single weed stock that has a chart like that. I think, like, what was it? Grow? GRWG. I think this one had a good chart. Let me see. Yeah, this one's decent. Like, historically, that one is on fire. But most of the wheat stocks, they just bleed out into nothing. To be honest, I avoid trading wheat stocks at all costs. The only time I trade them is if you're anticipating, like, a smaller move, like you're trying to trade, like, a weekly. But yeah, it looks like shit. It's breaking the daily pivot. If it bounces on that daily pivot at 15, like 30-ish, then maybe. But for now, it looks terrible. Yeah, Mike, it's highly unusual because they're buying really deep in the money, so they want it to go higher. But they also bought puts as well. So they're doing like a straddle. And when you do a straddle, you just want there to be a really big move. But typically when people do straddles, they do them at the money. They don't do them deep in the money. I built the trade out here. I'll show you. Let me see if I can do it on here.
Yeah, Apple's about to make another all-time high.
Let's go back. What contracts did they take? July 16th. People are actually following them. More came in. Almost twice as much. Where are these orders? I can't see them. It was about 10,000 earlier. Now it's 18,000. People are actually following these guys.
Yeah,
That is interesting. Go ahead, Johnny.
Tesla just filled his gap. Well,
Nice.
it's a little gap that it made.
So look at this. So how many contracts did they take? They took 10,000 of the 1,000s. I can't really build this that way, but I'll just show you. Like if you built this the way they did with one contract, this is what it does. This is why it doesn't make any sense. Your POP is less than 1%. It means like this trade is literally you're just throwing money in a fire. Your delta is 200 per contract. So it means that they want it to go up, and they want it to go up a lot, right? Max profit is 0. Max loss is almost 500 grand per spread. Buying power effect is almost 600 grand per spread. This trade doesn't make any sense. So I don't know exactly what they're doing. They don't have to be buying all of these though. So it's hard to say. They could be like buying these, selling these, selling these, buying these. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to buy all of them. There's no way to actually determine what they're doing. But it doesn't really matter because look, I'll show you. If they did it like this, Actually, they would do it like this. Let's see. This would make the most sense. No, it doesn't. Yeah, there's no way I can show you. It doesn't make any sense. There's no way for them to make money. You can. I thought about this for a long time. Like when it came in, I was trying to figure out like what they were doing to see how they could make money. There's no way they can make money. It doesn't matter which ones you're buying. Doesn't matter which ones you're selling. So it's highly unusual. I don't know. We'll probably see like some articles or something come out about it. But then again, they're obviously a lot smarter than I am, so there probably is some hidden way for them to make money. That one trade is more than most funds have in their entire AUM. Any clue on why most of the market is fading, tanking, and just a few names are carrying the market up? Breakouts keep failing and moving averages keep getting broken. I think it's just the sectors that you're watching, man. The tech sectors and like some retail names, some blue chip names, they're all doing pretty well. Like the ones that I talked about, like Pepsi, Coke, like all the companies that are like in that realm, Costco, Target, Walmart, all the like blue chip companies, they're doing pretty good. It's just all the smaller names, the names that are like kind of in IWM, the small cap guys, the mid cap guys, they're getting hit. Money is flowing out of mid caps and small caps into the biggest companies in the world. They're flowing into the blue chips and they're flowing into big tech. If you look at all the big tech charts, they're going straight up. Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, kind of still consolidating a little bit. Netflix is going straight up. And if you guys remember, I called this out on stream. You can see I highlighted it here. We called this out on stream way back on June 23rd when it broke all that resistance. And I told you it fills the gaps every time. There's that gap fill. Finally happened. So now there's a couple gaps below us that need to be filled. So we have a gap down here around like 521, 517, and then 512. And then we're also going to have earnings that's going to make another gap pretty soon. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, like Amazon running, Tesla struggling a little bit. But like the big companies, like if you guys know SPY, the two biggest holdings on SPY is Microsoft and Apple. So if Microsoft and Apple do well, SPY climbs. And then the biggest holdings on Qs are, what is it? I think it's Facebook is the biggest. And then Amazon and Netflix and Microsoft are also in the top 5. So pretty much all the big tech. But if big tech climbs, the market climbs. FANG accounts for like what, 20% of the market cap of the entire index. It's like 20 or 30% is in just the FANG companies. The sectors that are doing bad are mainly like financials, utilities, energy. Does Walmart look good to me? Let me take a look. It did last time we looked at it. Yeah, it looks really good. If you kind of ignore all this like sell-off and you look at what's happening locally, this is very bullish. You had a nice little V bottom, turn into like a little bull flag, and now we're breaking out of it. So as long as you can stay above like 140, I should say 141, I think this is really strong. And then if we zoom out, you want to be watching for like this area here, which was a gap, and then it retested. That's kind of where we're headed. Pretty much all these companies look good. The big retailers, they look good. How's that retail sector doing? We got out of that. Yeah, it's pulling back a little bit. When this breaks out, the retailer should do very well.
Apple going for another all-time high.
Would Apple recovered already?
Yes, sir.
That's funny. Yes, it did. Looks pretty good. This is insane on Apple. It's absolutely insane.
They keep getting upgrades.
It's funny, I mentioned this, like, what, 2 weeks ago? Remember you asked about Apple, and I said, if you look at the 1 hour chart, it just pulls back the trend, puts it in a new high. Pulls back the trend, puts it in a new high. And it's been doing that literally since the bottom of June. These 1 hour trends are just beautiful.
Bro, it's been the same pattern since fucking 126, bro.
Yep.
Same. Consolidate break, consolidate break.
Yeah, it's really, it's very healthy on the low time frames, not so much on the high time frames. This is a little unhealthy, but the low time frames are really clean. Is Shop considered a big large cap company with all the others? Seems like Shop was building a new base flag. Yes, Shop has a massive market cap. What's their market cap? Let me see. I can pull it up on Trade Ideas. I'm pretty sure it's in the multi-billions. Yeah, it's 182 billion. They're massive. Definitely a big company. Shopify is the biggest. If you invested $1,000 like 10 years ago, it's the biggest gainer of any company, I'm pretty sure. Look at this thing. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's up 5,000% since 2015. It's up 5,000% in 6 years. It's the largest gaining company in the past decade.
Best Canadian stock ever.
Is Shopify Canadian? You guys taking credit for our work?
We're rugging the States.
Yeah. But yeah, so this looks pretty decent. It kind of looks like a cup and handle. The handle is actually a little high. Typically the handle would be like this, downward. But it's kind of the same pattern, cup and then handle. This is kind of a sideways handle though. But same mentality. You've reclaimed the resistance, rounded bottom, and then now we're kind of consolidating before we go higher. But it has to hold on to like 1430. Hold on to that low. Are there any pivots in this area? Yeah, so there's a pivot right here that we lost, pivot right there that we lost. Those are a little weak. Weekly, no pivot. The weekly's pretty toppy. That's a little scary on the weekly. Yeah, 4 hour pivot right there. 1450, 1430 on the 50 moving average. As long as it holds these supports, it should go higher.
Deja, what do you think of Bitcoin if the daily closes like this?
I was actually looking at it earlier. It was a nice little bounce. Let me see. Where is it? Yeah, I like the daily. It's got a nice little hammer. Where's the 50-day? Is it caught up yet? Look at the pivot, though. You see the daily pivot? If you look at the Bitcoin or BitMEX chart, that pivot is just, it won't lose it. It tried to lose it, reclaimed it instantly. Tried to lose it, reclaimed it instantly. Ever since, you have not lost it. You could literally buy that pivot and sell the Ichi lines non-stop. Same thing with Ethereum. Look at the daily pivot on Ethereum, BitMEX chart. Or no, Coinbase chart. Those pivots just do not fail. How is Shopify so strong? They're highly innovative. They took over that space. The online retail kind of e-commerce space. I shouldn't say retail, I should say e-commerce. But when they started, they innovated very quickly and they took over that space very quickly. They've branched out into a lot of things too, I'm pretty sure. They're not just like e-commerce. Their recent news was they partnered up with Facebook for their Facebook Pay. It's available on Shopify starting in August.
Did you see the new Apple credit cards that might be coming out?
No, they like rewards cards.
They're gonna try to compete with Chase Sapphire and Amex.
Nice. Have you guys seen that Mark Zuckerberg has sold like 20 to 30 million dollars worth in Facebook shares every single day for the past like 3 or 4 months? Pretty crazy. Every day he's just collecting 20 to 30 million dollars. Imagine.
When does Zuck make his space agency is the real question.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be fucking SpaceX, Amazon, and Facebook fighting over the moon. SPY's looking weak here. Retested VWAP and failing it. My arms are so sore from the gym, I can't fully extend them. Fucking killing me. $2.5 million calls came in today on Apple. 0.28 put to call ratio, so had a decent amount of puts too. What's going on, Alan? Chad said, if I took Apple when you mentioned it last week at 142, nice, Chad. You should be doing really well then. Like I said, man, Apple is in that that roll only. Just roll until it stops working. Just keep rolling your contracts out, make some money on them, collect the profit, roll them out. Just keep doing it. Like if you took the breakout trade way back here, like when it started breaking like 138, and let's say you bought like 140s, and then it started going up, you just rolled them to 142, rolled them to 144, you get a little bit of a pullback, you might have closed them there. But if you didn't close them, you could have just rolled them again, 146, and you just keep going, right? The only days that would have like probably made you close is these like two little red days, like that one there, and then maybe the gap down there. But because you're rolling, you're okay with taking a little bit of a pullback. So if you're doing it properly and you're not leaving too much on the table, these pullbacks shouldn't have actually hurt you. Like if you're rolling from a like a 60 delta down to a 30 delta, you should not be getting too scared when it pulls back like that. You always want to roll when your delta is a little higher. Like you don't want to like buy the contract at 30 delta and then roll it at 40 delta. That doesn't really make sense. If you buy it at 30 delta and then it gets to like 55 or 60, then you roll it. Because then you can just roll it back to 30. And then rinse and repeat. It goes to 50. You roll it back to 30. It goes to 50 again. You roll it back to 30. By the way, guys, the newsletter is indefinitely suspended right now. We got banned from that platform. So we're going to have to figure out another way to do the newsletter. They banned us for promoting cryptocurrencies, even though we only talk about Bitcoin for 5 minutes a week. What does rolling mean? Rolling is when you you sell your current contracts and buy contracts farther out. So like if you have contracts that say 140 for Apple, and then you want to roll them out, you would roll them to like 142 or 144. If you want to roll them, sorry, that's called rolling up. That's rolling them up. If you want to roll them out, that's when you move the expiration. So like you have 140s for Apple that expire on Friday, you can roll them out, and that would mean you're selling those and buying them at a further date. If you're rolling them up, that means you're selling the ones you currently have and then buying higher ones on the same expiration. I have a video on that. If you guys are in Discord, go to the mentorship section. There's a video on how to roll contracts. Brian said, thoughts on TSM and QCOM. I saw some flow on these as well. TSM was on fire the past few days. Looks pretty good. Yeah, doing well. Looks a little toppy maybe. Kind of hitting a little bit of resistance up here. Yeah, look at that. Daily pivot. There's a daily pivot. It's hitting almost to the penny. So until it breaks that daily pivot, I would say it's locally a top here. Maybe look for a pullback back to the range. Probably back down to like 120, 121. Yeah, I know, Poncho. You literally say cryptocurrency is trash right now, and they say I'm promoting it. It's a joke, dude. They're fucking idiots, and I told them they were idiots. And then QCOM, pretty much the same thing, breaking out of a nice little range here. We don't have a whole lot of resistance above us. You got a little bit that we're kind of topping out around 145, which is also a pivot. You kind of have a pivot back here around 146. Then we have a pivot at 150. So a lot of resistance up here. When you get above that, I'd look for 150. If it gets back below the gap around 142, I'd probably be a little worried. NASDAQ, that's called a tweezer top, Dom. When there's matching wicks like that, it's called a tweezer. You have a tweezer top and a tweezer bottom. That would be a top. Which if you use my technique, that would be a lot of sell pressure. And you would be looking to fade that move. Little bounce we're seeing on SPY here. I think it's mainly driven by Apple. Let's see. Yeah, Apple's still doing all right. Microsoft as well. Jared said, any advice on coming out of a losing streak with how the markets have been lately. Made a lot of gains, but ended up giving it back. Feels scary to get back in the market. It's really hard to trade, man, right now. I'm telling you. This year and last year are some of the hardest trading years I've ever had. It is very, very difficult. The thing that you want to be watching for when the market is acting the way it is right now is you want to be watching the sectors and seeing which sectors are getting the money, which sectors are getting the rotation. The reason the market is so hard to trade right now is because sector rotations that typically take like 1 to 2 quarters, sometimes even longer than that, they're happening in like less than a quarter. Like the rotations are happening very, very quickly. The rotations that we typically saw like pre-COVID, you would see them take a long time. Like they'd be very easy to see happening. Like you would see the financial sector start drifting lower, and then you'd see the money start flowing into tech, and they'd start drifting higher, and then like utilities would start getting hurt. You know what I mean? Those rotations are happening on a weekly basis now. Like they're much, much faster. So the market is extremely hard to trade. We're also seeing a lot of fundamental news come out nonstop. You're seeing Fed testimonies constantly. You're seeing constant talks on unemployment and infrastructure deals and COVID packages. Pre-COVID, there just wasn't that much news. There wasn't much you had to watch out for. You have to watch out for all that stuff right now. So if you're on a massive losing streak, don't beat yourself up too much, man. It's a really hard market. But what I would say to get out of that is figure out what you're doing wrong. Like, is it like, are you losing all your trades in a certain sector? Like maybe you're trading metals and you're getting wrecked. Maybe you're trading energy and you're getting wrecked. Maybe you're trading indexes and you're getting wrecked. You know what I mean? If like all of your losses are in one sector, just stop trading that sector and find something else that works more for you. If you're taking short-term trades a lot and those aren't working, start doing more of like an investing strategy. Start buying shares, and then if it starts dipping against you, buy more shares, right? Like have an averaging technique instead of a go all in on your first trade. That's what I started doing. I'm doing mostly shares right now with selling premium. If I ever find myself losing trades, like if I lose a lot of my options trades, I always go back to buying shares and selling premium. So you just got to find different strategies. Don't just keep doing something when it's not working. Like if you're scalping weeklies and it's not working, stop scalping weeklies, you know what I mean? Start buying shares. If you're buying options too early and stuff is like pulling back and then you get out of it and then it goes your way, start buying shares instead of options. Because shares allow you to average. You can't really average on options. They usually kill you. My biggest thing that I tell people is like, if you're constantly losing options trades, stop trading options, man. Just start trading shares. People don't understand. You can still make a lot of money trading shares. Do you need more capital? Yes, you do. So if you have a really small account, then it is hard to trade shares. I will say that. But if you have a decent sized account and you're getting wrecked on options, just trade shares, dude. Shares are so much easier to trade, especially in a market that we're seeing right now where shit just keeps going up. It's choppy 100%, but if you look at it on a long time scale, like the weekly and the monthly, it's just going up. So if you extend your time horizon to like, okay, I don't care about making money this week, but I want to make money a month or two from now, you can buy shares. And if it goes against you, just buy more. And then wait. Time is the most bullish thing the market can ever have. It's the most bullish thing that ever goes into the market. It's time. What's the flow that's coming in? I'm not sure, honestly. It's nothing too big. They're all really small. Repeat call flow on Neo. Hey, there's a lot of these actually. Neo 4350s for July 23rd. They're buying the pivot retest. Where's Neo? It actually lost the pivot. The pivot's at 4450, so this is pretty bad. They're trying to buy the dip. They're buying the dip on Neo. But yeah, options. If you've traded crypto, it's the exact comparison is like new traders jumping into BitMEX or jumping into whatever the popular exchange is right now, FTX, right? And they just start jacking up their leverage and they're getting wrecked. And they're like, oh, why am I losing? It's like you don't even know how to trade and you're jacking up your leverage and you're getting murdered. That's the same thing with new traders trading options. They don't even know what they're doing, but they're trading options that have like massive, what's the word? Not buying power. What's the word?
Leverage?
Not leverage. I lost the word, but like not margin. When you buy a contract on SPY, so like, where's my calculator? So on average, I typically buy options that have like 40 delta. And every delta you can see as like a share. So like that's one share. So if we buy 40 delta on SPY, that's 40 shares of $436. Oops, hold on. 40 shares of $436. You're trading $17,000 worth of capital. And people don't understand that. They're like putting in $200 into this contract, but they're trading $17,000 worth of whatever that word is that I can't think of right now. It's not leverage, but you know what I mean. They're trading $17,000 worth of capital when they're only putting in a couple hundred. And they're like, how the fuck did I just lose all my money so fast? That's how you're losing your money so fast. It's massively leveraged. Margin would be the closest word, but it's not the word I'm thinking of. But yeah, that's an easy way to do the math on like the contracts that you're trading. If you're trading options, and like let's say we're buying like AMC contracts, and we're buying like 50 delta AMC contracts, then per contract we are trading $1,600 worth of capital, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at the other metrics that come with AMC, like the insanely high volatility, it is a lot. No, it's not interest. I'll probably think of it tomorrow and I'll remind you guys. But yeah, that's a quick way to see like how much you're actually your position size. People don't understand how to do position sizing when they're trading options, and that's how you're supposed to do position size. You take your entire position delta times the stock price. That is your position size. That is your margin. Sorry, margin's not the right word. It's your capital.
Exposure?
Exposure would be a good word. Exposure would be a good word. That's probably the closest. So if you buy 5 contracts of SPY, right, at $200 a pop, most traders will be like, "Oh, I'm only in $1,000. My position size is $1,000." It's not $1,000. That's how much capital you're risking. Like that's how much of your account you're risking. You're risking $1,000. That's not your position size though. If you bought 5 contracts that were 40 delta, that's 40 times 5 times 436. You have $87,000 worth of exposure. Worth of position power, I guess you would say. So, of your account, you're only risking $1,000, but you're in an $87,000 position. So when that trade goes against you and you're like, how the fuck am I losing money so fast? That's why you're losing money so fast. Your position size is way too high compared to what your account is. That's why I recommend trading debit spreads for people that have small accounts, because it lowers your delta. When you trade a debit spread on SPY, your delta is going to be much more like 10, not 40. And it's much better than taking a 10 delta contract naked, because if you take a 10 delta contract naked, like, let me give you an example here. I know most of you guys are completely zoned out, not listening to me, but if you do listen, it will help you a lot in your trading. If you take a 10 delta contract on SPY, you're buying the 440s for Friday. That's really far away, right? That's like extremely far. You're not going to get 440. But if you want to take a 10 delta position that you actually have a high chance of winning, what you could do is we could say buy the 433 calls, and then we could sell the 435 calls, and that gives us a 15 delta, and we have a 63% POP on that trade. Much higher than if we just buy a 10 delta contract at the 440s, which give us a 18% POP. POP is, sorry, there's the bell. POP is your probability of profit. That is the options market is giving you that percentage chance to make at least 1 penny on the trade. So if we buy the 440s, you have a 19% POP. But if we take a much more intelligent trade and buy the 433s, but then sell the 435s. And I'm gonna let me screenshot this. I'll show you guys. So this would be the debit spread. This would be a 15 delta trade. And can I save this? Let me copy this and I'll add it into Discord. So I'll pull it up in a second. And then if we take a much stupider trade and buy the 15 delta contracts that are 440s, this is what it looks like. And then let me pull up that other one. Where's that other one? Let's see. How am I going to do this? There we go. So you see how this one is a 65% POP, 15 delta. We're risking a max loss of $156 to make 44. So your risk reward is pretty shitty. But this is a much better trade than taking, where's that other one? This, which is a 20% POP, about the same delta. So we're still about the same bullishness, right? Our bullishness is almost identical. Max profit on this is infinity, which you're not going to get infinity, right? It's just telling you that because there's no cap. Max loss is $24. So you're risking a smaller amount of money, but you're almost guaranteed to lose this money. It's almost guaranteed. Like you're going to lose that money. When this trade actually has a high chance of making money, it has a high chance of making that $44. So when you have a smaller account, you just have to find those trades that are higher intelligence trades. They're smarter trades. People always go for the get-rich-quick trades, where you're buying naked contracts that have, like, low delta, but if they hit pretty hard. But how many times have you guys taken trades like that and you lose every single time? Is it a good idea to do leap debit spreads? No, I've actually tried that, and they're pretty stupid because it's almost like buying a bond. Because the way debit spreads make money is, let me make an example here. So if we buy the 435s on SPY, and then let's say we sell the 437s. Let me actually do it this way. Let's go to our curve. That's actually not gonna. That's not gonna show you. Here, I'll show you this way. So if we do something like this, where we buy the 435s and then we sell the 437s, this is creating a debit spread. This is like the most standard debit spread you can make because you have a 50% POP, so it's about a 50-50 chance, right? Max profit is 80, max loss is 120. So you're risking a little bit more than you're going to make. But if this does go up, you have a very good chance of collecting that max profit. So the way these make money is this is 2 days to expiration. So the delta is 20. So what it has to do is it has to go up, and per dollar it goes up, you're going to make about $20. So this has to go up 4 points for you to make that max profit. And then you don't make anything after that. Anything after 4 points, your position doesn't really make any more. You've capped yourself. But where you actually make most of the money on debit spreads is the time. It's not actually the delta. So what happens is this will start to push up, and then let's say it's at like 439, and this is on Friday. So let's say it's Friday at 439. You're making the money because you're in the money and it's expiring. So when it pushes you in the money and it starts to expire, the time decay is actually where you make your money. So if we take the same exact trade, but then we go to, let me see, let's just do, let's do January. So a leap would be like on January, right? Going pretty far out. And I've tried these before. So you would buy the 430s, you would sell the 435s. Your delta is only 2. Okay? So the max profit is 156. So if we take a calculator here, 156 divided by 2, divided by 2, 78. So for us to make our max profit, this has to go up 78 points. Give or take a few points because of gamma, right? It's going to change your delta a little bit. But let's just say 78 points. So this has to go to like 500 for us to make our max profit within that 555 days. Or it could just go up and say, it goes to like 450, and then the time starts to decay. And let's say a year from now, this starts to come off, right? The time is much lower, so the theta is going to burn these contracts. So that's where you're going to make most of your money, is when you're in the money and time starts to pass. And the only way you're going to make your max profit is if you're basically at expiration. So you would have to wait 555 days. And I actually took a trade on this, which I would have collected my max profit, but I closed it because I didn't feel like waiting. What I did was, I don't remember the exact strikes. I think it was like 315s. But it was like way back here in 2020 when we were pumping. I took a debit spread and I bought the 300s and I sold the 315s. It was somewhere around there. And even though it started to go up, I wasn't making like any money because my contracts were a year out. So even though it started to go up, I was up like 5 or 10%. And it was at like 340. Right? And I wasn't making any money. Because it's more based on the time than it is the price. I would have had to wait a full year to collect my investment. So I do not recommend making debit spreads that are that far out. The farthest I would go for a debit spread is maybe like 45 to 60 days, and even that's far. When you take a debit spread, you have to be okay with locking in your money for however long that expiration is. Like if you take a 30-day debit spread, you have to be okay with locking in your money for 30 days. I would mainly take debit spreads probably around the 30 to 45 day mark, but nothing higher than like 60. You can take riskier ones that are like 2 weeks or even like a week, but they're much riskier. Like if you want to trade SPY and you want to kind of get good at trading SPY, instead of just buying the lottos on the Friday expirations, you could take debit spreads on the Friday expirations. So like if we're looking at SPY on a daily and we're like, okay, it's topping out a little bit, maybe it comes down and it pulls back before next Friday. So next Friday would be the 23rd. So instead of buying a naked put for like, let's say 433, we could do this. Let me see. So here you go. You could do this. So if you're bearish on SPY and you think it's going to pull back to 433 by next Friday, this would be like the trade that you would build. You would buy the 435s because they're a little bit higher than the 433s. Then you would sell the 433s. So if it was below 433 by next Friday, you would make your max profit. Now this only gives you a 43% POP, which is pretty standard. That's not too bad. Your theta is neutral, so that means that your contract will not decay super quickly. And then your delta is pretty neutral, so that means that per dollar that SPY goes down, you'll make about $9. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how you would build a smarter trade if you thought it was going to go down to 433. Instead of just buying the 433s, that would look like this. If you guys are just coming in, I'm just talking about debit spreads and vertical spreads. They're the same thing. They're called verticals or debits. So this would be like buying naked. If you bought the 433s, you notice your POP is much lower, and then your delta is much higher, and your theta is much higher. So your time decay is going to be much, much higher. Your overall bias is going to be a lot higher, so your delta, and then your POP is going to be lower. So you have a much lower chance of winning that trade. But this is where it gets you. It's like, oh, my max profit is 43,000. That means if it goes to zero, literally. So your gain and loss is much, or sorry, your gain is much higher, but your loss is going to be much higher as well. Hey, Sour, I see that donation. I appreciate that. You said, hey, bro, I'm an NFT artist. Can I make you a free custom NFT and gift it to you? Sure, I guess. How am I supposed to collect this? And how are you scamming me? But I'm gonna end it on that, guys. Hopefully that was educational for you guys. I'm gonna clip that, and I'm going to make it into a nice little video. So I'll probably post that on YouTube later. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you guys are new. If you guys are watching the stream, I will see you guys tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, same time as always. If you guys have any questions about anything I just went over, just post them in the YouTube comments when I post on YouTube, or just send me a message on Twitter. But I'll see you guys later. Yeah, Sour, that's okay. You can send it to me on Twitter. You guys have a good day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.